The Book of Proverbs, largely attributed to King Solomon, is a sacred well of divine wisdom. Inspired by God, it offers timeless guidance for the heart, mind, and daily choices we face. Unlike fleeting opinions or modern trends, Proverbs delivers enduring truth, practical and powerful for every generation. Within its concise sayings, we discover the character of a God who cares deeply, not only for our spiritual journey, but also for how we speak, act, think, and treat others. Proverbs brings clarity in confusion, correction in error, and strength in times of uncertainty. It invites us to revere the Lord, to seek wisdom above wealth, and to live with integrity, discernment, and humility. In the 40 lessons ahead, you'll encounter life-changing insights, each grounded in Scripture and paired with a simple, practical reflection. Let this journey through Proverbs shape not only what you know, but how you live every day. First lesson: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 1:7. The foundation of wisdom is reverence for God. Fearing the Lord doesn't mean terror, but a deep respect and awe for His holiness, power, and authority. It means recognizing that God's perspective is higher than ours, and that true wisdom begins by humbling ourselves before Him. Many people reject divine instruction and rely on their own understanding, but Proverbs calls that foolishness. When we fear God, we become teachable, and our decisions are guided by eternal truth instead of human opinion. Wisdom starts when we honor God as our ultimate source of truth. Second lesson: trust in the Lord completely. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. This verse teaches total reliance on God, not partial dependence. Human understanding is limited and often clouded by emotion or pride. But when we trust the Lord with all our heart, we surrender our logic, preferences, and fears to Him. This kind of trust means believing that God is good even when circumstances aren't. It means accepting His way even when it's not the easiest. As we learn to lean on God's guidance instead of our flawed reasoning, we begin to experience peace and direction beyond human capacity. Trusting God leads to a life of divine clarity. Third lesson: a gentle tongue has power. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Proverbs 15:1. Words can either heal or harm. This proverb reminds us that how we speak often matters more than what we say. A gentle response can diffuse conflict and calm tension, while harsh or reactive words escalate anger. In a world full of shouting voices, a quiet and kind answer stands out with power. Wisdom teaches us to pause, listen, and respond with grace, especially in heated moments. A controlled tongue is a sign of maturity and peace. When we respond with gentleness, we mirror the character of Christ and open doors for reconciliation and healing. Fourth lesson: avoid the path of the wicked. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Proverbs 4:14. God's wisdom draws a clear line between righteousness and evil. This verse is a warning to avoid the influence and lifestyle of those who live contrary to God's will. Walking with the wicked gradually leads to compromise, corruption, and destruction. Even small associations can pull us away from the path of life. Wisdom is proactive. It doesn't flirt with sin, but flees from it. We are called to walk in integrity, guided by God's word. By choosing our companions and influences carefully, we guard our hearts and remain on the path of righteousness. Fifth lesson: Guard your heart diligently. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Proverbs 4:23. Our heart, the center of our thoughts, desires, and emotions, influences every aspect of our life. This verse calls us to guard it vigilantly, like a treasure. What we allow into our hearts shapes our attitudes, decisions, and direction. If we fill our hearts with God's truth, love, and wisdom, our lives will reflect that goodness. But if we entertain bitterness, lies, or pride, it will eventually overflow into destructive behavior. Wisdom protects what is most precious. By guarding our hearts, we protect our future, our peace, and our relationship with God. Sixth lesson: honor the Lord with your wealth. Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruits of all thine increase. Proverbs 3:9. This verse teaches us to place God first in our finances and resources. Honoring Him with our substance means recognizing that everything we have comes from Him. Offering the first fruits, the best and first part, reflects a heart of gratitude and faith. It's not just about giving money, but about prioritizing God above all material pursuits. When we give to God first, we declare our trust in His provision. Such generosity becomes a form of worship, aligning our hearts with eternal values and opening us to God's blessings in unexpected ways. Seventh lesson: the wise listen to correction. A fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. Proverbs 15:5. Wisdom is not only about knowing right from wrong, but also being willing to change when corrected. This verse shows that fools reject instruction, especially from those placed in authority like parents. In contrast, the wise value correction because they understand its purpose to shape, refine, and protect. Accepting rebuke requires humility, but it leads to growth and maturity. Even painful feedback can be a gift when received with the right heart. God often uses others to guide us. A teachable spirit is one of the most important signs of wisdom. Eighth lesson: pride leads to destruction. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. Pride is a silent destroyer. It deceives us into thinking we are self-sufficient, above correction, or better than others. But Proverbs warns that pride is a precursor to ruin. A haughty spirit, an attitude of superiority, distances us from God and leads to careless decisions. True wisdom walks in humility, recognizing our constant need for God's guidance and grace. When we elevate ourselves, we become blind to danger. God honors the humble, but resists the proud. Staying low before God protects us from the fall that pride inevitably brings. Ninth lesson: a good name is a great treasure. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. Proverbs 22:1. Reputation and character hold more value than any amount of money. This proverb highlights the eternal worth of a good name, a life marked by honesty, kindness, and integrity. While riches can be gained and lost, a good reputation is built over time and has lasting impact. God calls us to be people whose word can be trusted and whose actions reflect love. When others speak well of us because of our faithfulness and grace, God is glorified. True wealth is found in being a person of honor, not just a person of possessions. 10th lesson: wisdom is better than gold. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? Proverbs 16:16. In a world that chases wealth, God reminds us that wisdom is far more valuable. Gold and silver may bring temporary comfort, but wisdom shapes decisions, relationships, and our eternal future. Understanding helps us navigate life with clarity, peace, and purpose. This verse challenges us to shift our priorities, to seek God's truth over material gain. Wisdom leads to lasting fruit, while money without wisdom leads to ruin. If we pursue wisdom above wealth, we will find ourselves richer in every area that truly matters before God and others. 11th lesson. Walk with the wise. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Proverbs 13:20. Who you walk with influences who you become. Proverbs makes it clear that surrounding yourself with wise people will lead to greater wisdom. Their example, counsel, and decisions will sharpen your character. On the other hand, walking with foolish people, those who reject God's ways, leads to disaster. Influence is powerful. We often absorb the attitudes, values, and habits of those around us. This verse urges us to be intentional about our relationships. Choose friends and mentors who love the Lord and live by truth. Godly companionship strengthens your walk with Him and protects you from harm. 12th lesson. Hatred stirs conflict. Love covers offenses. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins. Proverbs 10:12. Hatred fuels division and chaos. It amplifies offenses and keeps wounds open. But love acts like a healing balm. It forgives, restores, and brings peace. This verse doesn't suggest ignoring sin, but choosing mercy over revenge. Love doesn't deny wrongdoing, it overcomes it. In relationships, love is the force that bridges gaps and mends hearts. God's love covered our sins through Jesus, and He calls us to extend that same grace to others. When love leads, bitterness has no place. Choosing love over hate is choosing unity over conflict, peace over pain. 13th, the diligent will prosper. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Proverbs 12:24. Diligence, consistent, honest effort, leads to influence and advancement. This proverb teaches that hard-working people rise to leadership, while lazy individuals become dependent on others. God honors those who steward their responsibilities well. Diligence reflects character, discipline, and trustworthiness. In contrast, laziness leads to missed opportunities and a life of limitations. This isn't just about career success, but about faithfulness in all areas: spiritual life, relationships, and personal growth. Work done with integrity glorifies God and blesses others. Through diligence, we reflect God's nature and fulfill our purpose with excellence. 14th, speak life. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Proverbs 18:21. Words are powerful. They can build up or tear down, bring healing or destruction. Proverbs tells us that our tongues hold the potential to speak life or cause death, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. What we say matters. Words can linger in a heart long after they're spoken. Those who understand this power use it with care, speaking truth, encouragement, and blessing. When we speak with kindness and wisdom, we bear good fruit, joy, unity, and peace. But careless words reap pain. Let your speech reflect God's heart, for your words reveal who you truly are. 15th, commit your plans to the Lord. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Proverbs 16:3. Planning is wise, but true success comes from surrendering those plans to God. This verse teaches us to bring every intention, project, or decision under His authority. When we commit our works to the Lord, He gives us clarity and direction. Our thoughts become aligned with His will, and confusion gives way to purpose. Trusting God with our goals brings peace, even when things don't unfold as expected. Divine alignment brings divine success. Seek his guidance first, and your plans will be grounded in wisdom that stands firm through every season. 16th, a cheerful heart is good medicine. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Proverbs 17:22. Our emotional and spiritual state has real effects on our well-being. A cheerful heart, filled with gratitude, joy, and hope, brings strength and healing just like good medicine. But a broken, crushed spirit drains energy and weakens both body and soul. This proverb reminds us to guard our joy and choose to focus on what is good, even in hard times. Joy is not superficial happiness. It comes from trusting God. When we walk with Him, our hearts can remain joyful despite circumstances. That joy becomes a healing presence, both for us and for those around us. 17th, do not envy sinners. Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. Proverbs 23:17. It's tempting to look at the prosperity of those who reject God and wonder why they seem to succeed. But this verse calls us to keep our eyes on what truly matters, the fear of the Lord. Envy blinds us to the temporary nature of worldly success and causes discontent. The fear of the Lord leads to peace, purpose, and eternal rewards. Instead of comparing, trust that God sees and honors your faithfulness. What looks like loss today may be great gain in eternity. Keep walking in righteousness and let God determine your reward. 18th, a gentle spirit brings peace. Better is a dry morsel and quietness therewith than an house full of sacrifices with strife. Proverbs 17:1. This proverb teaches that peace is more valuable than abundance. It's better to have a simple meal in a quiet home than great feasts in a house filled with conflict. Many people chase wealth, luxury, and success, but lack peace in their relationships. True blessing lies not in what we have, but in the love, respect, and unity that fill our lives. God desires that our homes be places of rest and peace. Cultivating gentleness and humility brings lasting joy. Choose calm over chaos, and you'll find contentment that money can't buy. 19th, keep your word. A righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and cometh to shame. Proverbs 13:5, integrity is a mark of godliness. A righteous person values truth and avoids dishonesty in all forms. Lying damages trust, corrodes character, and eventually leads to shame and exposure. In contrast, living honestly, even when it costs us, honors God and builds a life of respect. This verse reminds us that truthfulness reflects our walk with God. When we speak the truth and keep our word, others can rely on us. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. The Lord delights in hearts that love what is true and reject deceit. 20th, don't boast about tomorrow. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Proverbs 27:1. We don't control the future. This verse warns against arrogance and presumption when planning ahead. While it's wise to prepare, it's foolish to speak as if tomorrow is guaranteed. Life is fragile and unpredictable. Only God knows what each day will bring. Proverbs calls us to humility and dependence on Him, living each day with gratitude and purpose. Instead of boasting, we should say, if the Lord wills. This mindset keeps our hearts grounded in faith, not pride. Trust God for tomorrow, but honor Him fully today, for today is all we truly have. 21st lesson. Wisdom brings security. Whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. Proverbs 1:33. When we listen to wisdom, which ultimately means listening to God, we find safety and peace. This verse offers a promise Those who obey divine instruction will live without the constant fear of danger or evil. It doesn't mean a life free of hardship, but a life grounded in security that comes from knowing God is in control. Obedience brings peace of mind, while rebellion brings unrest. When you walk in God's ways, you're under His protection. Trusting His wisdom provides a calm soul, even in a chaotic world. His truth shields us from unseen harm. 22nd. A soft spirit is true strength. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Proverbs 16:32. Self-control is a mark of real strength. The world often admires external power, warriors, leaders, and those who conquer others. But God says the one who controls their own emotions is greater. Being slow to anger reflects patience, humility, and spiritual maturity. Anyone can explode in anger, but it takes deep wisdom to remain calm under pressure. Controlling your spirit means mastering pride, bitterness, and selfish impulses. This kind of strength comes from walking with God and yielding to His Spirit. True power isn't in conquering others, but in conquering ourselves through grace. 23rd. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord, and depart from evil. Proverbs 3:7. Arrogance is a spiritual danger. Thinking too highly of our own wisdom closes our hearts to God's truth. This verse calls us to humility. We must not lean on our own cleverness, but revere God and turn from sin. Pride says, I know best. Wisdom says, God knows better. The fear of the Lord leads us to surrender, and that surrender leads to freedom. When we trust God's perspective over our own, we walk the path of righteousness. Departing from evil is a natural result of fearing God and realizing how limited our understanding really is. 24th. Wise words refresh the soul. The tongue of the wise is health. Proverbs 12:18. Be words have power, not just to wound, but to heal. While harsh speech can cut deeply, wise words bring restoration, clarity, and peace. This short verse highlights the redemptive power of speaking with wisdom. A gentle, timely word can soothe anxiety, inspire courage, and bring life to tired hearts. God calls us to be people whose speech builds up others. Just like medicine strengthens the body, wise counsel strengthens the soul. Speak intentionally. Let your words be guided by truth and love, and you'll become a vessel of healing in a world full of noise and hurt. 25th. The righteous are bold as a lion. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Proverbs 28:1. Guilt brings fear, but righteousness gives courage. This proverb draws a contrast between those who live with integrity and those who don't. The wicked are often haunted by fear and insecurity, even without visible danger. But the righteous, whose hearts are clean before God, walk in boldness. Their confidence comes not from pride, but from peace with God. When you live honestly and walk in God's ways, you have nothing to hide. You can stand firm, speak truth, and face trials with unshakable faith, like a lion that fears no threat. True boldness comes from a pure conscience. 26th. A faithful friend is a treasure. A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17:17. True friendship is constant, not seasonal. This verse reveals the nature of real love. It's loyal, present, and enduring. A friend who loves at all times is there in joy and sorrow, in success and struggle. A faithful companion reflects the love of Christ, offering strength in life's hardest moments. A brother here symbolizes someone who stands with you in adversity. Godly relationships are not about convenience, but commitment. In a world of shallow connections, Proverbs reminds us of the beauty of deep sacrificial friendship. Cherish those who walk with you through every season of life. 27th, laziness leads to poverty. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. Proverbs 6:10-11. This proverb warns us how quickly laziness brings ruin. It begins subtly, just a little extra sleep, a little delay, a little comfort-seeking. But over time, it opens the door to lack and hardship. Poverty doesn't always strike suddenly. It often creeps in quietly when diligence is neglected. The image of a traveler and a thief shows how loss arrives when we least expect it. God values diligence and stewardship. A life of purpose requires intentional effort. Don't wait for opportunities. Work with integrity. Manage your time wisely, and trust God to bless your faithfulness. 28th, a humble spirit gains honor. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility. Proverbs 18:12. Pride paves the way to downfall, but humility prepares the path to honor. This verse shows a spiritual law. The proud fall, but the humble are lifted. A proud heart resists correction, trusts in itself, and seeks to be seen, and that leads to ruin. But humility invites grace, teaches us to listen, and makes room for God's favor. Jesus himself taught that those who humble themselves will be exalted. In God's kingdom, the way up is down. Choose humility daily in how you speak, respond, and lead, and watch how God honors your life. 29th, righteousness guards the upright. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. Proverbs 11:3. Integrity acts as a compass in a confusing world. When you walk uprightly, guided by truth and honesty, you avoid many traps and regrets. This verse teaches that integrity doesn't just please God, it protects you. The upright are guided by clear conscience and godly values, while the corrupt are eventually ruined by their deceit. Living with integrity means doing the right thing even when no one sees. It builds trust, honors God, and brings peace. In every choice, let truth be your foundation. The road of righteousness may be narrow, but it is secure. 30th lesson, the wise build their home. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. Proverbs 14:1. A home is not built with bricks alone, it's shaped by words, attitudes, and daily choices. This verse speaks beyond gender, revealing that wisdom strengthens relationships while foolishness destroys them. To build your house means to nurture it with love, patience, discipline, and grace. A wise person fosters unity, prays for their family, and leads by example. But the foolish tear down trust with anger, selfishness, or neglect. God calls us to be builders of peace and life in our homes. Choose wisdom, and your house will become a place of strength, blessing, and lasting joy. 31st lesson, God sees the heart. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. Proverbs 21:2. People often justify their actions and believe they are right, but God looks deeper. He doesn't judge by appearance or excuses. He weighs the motives, desires, and intentions of the heart. This verse reminds us that we must not trust in our own self-righteousness. We may deceive others and even ourselves, but never the Lord. True wisdom requires honest self-examination and surrender. God values purity, humility, and sincerity. Instead of living to appear right, live to be right in His sight. A heart that seeks truth will always find grace in God's eyes. 32nd, humility attracts God's favor. Surely He scorneth the scorners, but He giveth grace unto the lowly. Proverbs 3:34. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Those who mock others or exalt themselves distance themselves from divine favor. But those who walk humbly, recognizing their need for God, receive His help, strength, and blessings. Humility isn't weakness, it's strength under control. It opens the door for God to act on our behalf. This verse echoes throughout Scripture, reminding us that God lifts the lowly and brings down the arrogant. If you want more of God's grace in your life, begin by walking humbly with Him and with others. 33rd, avoid foolish arguments. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. Proverbs 26:4. Not every battle is worth fighting. This verse teaches discernment in conversation. Engaging in foolish arguments can drag you down to the level of the person acting in folly. Sometimes silence is wiser than reaction. Responding to foolishness with more foolishness only adds fuel to the fire. Wisdom means knowing when to speak and when to remain quiet. Choose your words carefully and avoid debates that lead nowhere. Protect your peace and testimony. Let your life speak louder than your defense. There is power in a calm, self-controlled response, grounded in truth. 34th, the upright are guided by honesty. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. Proverbs 11:1. God delights in honesty and integrity in every aspect of life, even in business and daily dealings. In ancient times, merchants used weights to measure goods. Dishonest ones used false weights to cheat. Today, this principle reminds us that any form of deceit, large or small, displeases God. He sees how we treat others, how we conduct our work, and whether we are fair. Honesty builds trust and reflects God's nature. Whether in finances, relationships, or responsibilities, live transparently. When we act justly, we invite God's favor and reflect His righteousness to the world. 35th, he who guards his mouth guards his life. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. Proverbs 21:23. Many of life's problems begin with careless words. This proverb teaches that self-control in speech is key to a peaceful life. When we guard our words, we protect ourselves from unnecessary conflict, broken relationships, and regret. Words can't be taken back once spoken. Wise people speak slowly, think before answering, and resist the urge to respond in anger or pride. Controlling the tongue isn't easy, but it brings life and protection. Before speaking, ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Let God's Spirit guide your speech, and your soul will remain in peace. 36th, the righteous think before they speak. The heart of the righteous studieth to answer, but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things. Proverbs 15:28. Wise people think before they speak. This verse highlights the difference between the righteous and the wicked in how they communicate. The righteous pause, reflect, and seek to speak truth with love. Their words are deliberate and careful, not impulsive or destructive. The wicked, however, pour out evil without restraint, speaking harshly, dishonestly, or without regard for consequences. Our words carry weight. They reveal the state of our heart. When we allow God to shape our thoughts and responses, our speech becomes a channel of grace, truth, and healing to those who hear it. 37th, envy rots the soul. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, but envy the rottenness of the bones. Proverbs 14:30. Contentment brings peace and health, while envy destroys from the inside out. This proverb warns that a jealous heart doesn't just damage relationships, it corrodes your soul and even affects your physical well-being. Envy focuses on what others have, distorting your vision and stealing your joy. But a peaceful, content heart is full of life and gratitude. God calls us to trust in His timing and provision, rejoice in others' blessings without comparison, and you'll experience inner freedom. True satisfaction is found not in having more, but in appreciating what God has already given. 38th, patience is power. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. Proverbs 19:11. Patience is a sign of strength, not weakness. This verse reminds us that wisdom gives us the ability to delay anger and choose grace over retaliation. When someone wrongs us, the natural reaction is to strike back. But it is honorable to overlook an offense, not out of denial, but out of maturity and mercy. Forgiving others reflects God's character and brings healing to our relationships. Patience allows room for reflection, peace, and restoration. Let go of offenses quickly. Those who can restrain their emotions walk in strength and bring glory to God. 39th, the way of the lazy is hard. The way of the slothful man is as an hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. Proverbs 15:19. Laziness may seem like an easy path, but it brings more obstacles in the long run. A lazy person creates a life full of thorns, missed opportunities, regret, and constant struggle. On the other hand, the righteous, those who live with diligence and purpose, find that God smooths their way. Their path may not be without challenges, but it is clear and directed by divine wisdom. This proverb encourages us to act, work with discipline, and avoid procrastination. The more we live with purpose, the more fruitful and fulfilling our lives become. 40th lesson. The fear of the Lord leads to life. The fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. Proverbs 19:23. Reverence for God is the foundation of a meaningful life. This verse promises that those who fear the Lord, who honor Him, obey Him, and live in awe of His holiness, will enjoy life, contentment, and protection. The fear of the Lord isn't paralyzing fear, but deep respect and trust. It shapes our priorities, decisions, and desires. It brings peace and satisfaction, not anxiety. When God is at the center, we find life in its fullest sense, not just existence, but joy, purpose, and security under His care. The wisdom found in Proverbs is a gift from God, not just to make us smarter, but to make us more like Him. Each verse carries timeless truth that speaks directly to the challenges, decisions, and relationships we face today. These 40 lessons reveal that a life rooted in God's wisdom is one of strength, peace, and purpose. They challenge us to walk humbly, speak carefully, love deeply, and live righteously. Wisdom is not a destination, but a daily pursuit. The more we seek God's heart, the more we grow in discernment and grace. When we embrace wisdom, we make choices that honor God and bless others. Let this be your prayer. Lord, teach me to live wisely. As you continue this journey, remember that God's wisdom is always available, calling you to trust, to obey, and to flourish under His care. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Proverbs 4:7. There are truths capable of completely transforming the way we live, and many of them are found in the pages of Proverbs. Among its counsels and warnings, we discover principles that shape not only the heart, but also how we handle what God places in our hands. The Book of Proverbs is one of the greatest sources of practical wisdom ever written. Its words speak not only to the soul, but also to our daily decisions, including financial ones. In every verse, there are lessons about work, planning, generosity, and contentment. The Bible does not condemn prosperity. Instead, it teaches that true success is born from firm spiritual values and a life guided by prudence. Managing what we receive is an act of faith. We acknowledge that everything belongs to the Lord and that we are merely stewards of His gifts. Proverbs reveals that wealth without discernment is unstable, but when our choices are led by integrity, effort, and generosity, we find balance and inner peace. These 10 teachings remind us that money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. It can be a tool of blessing when placed in the right hands, but if it takes the throne of the heart, it becomes a prison. Now, I invite you to walk with me through the pages of Proverbs and discover 10 divine principles of wisdom that can transform the way you handle money, leading you to true prosperity, the kind that comes with peace, purpose, and faith in God. Let's begin. First teaching, trust in the Lord, not in riches. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. Trusting in the Lord means recognizing that true security does not come from wealth or our own abilities, but from God, who sustains all things. Riches are unstable and can vanish, but the love and faithfulness of the Lord endure forever. This verse teaches us to depend entirely on God, not on human strategies or limited understanding. When we place our trust in Him, we find direction, peace, and wisdom for every decision. Relying solely on material resources is like building on sand. Trusting in God is building on the rock. Faith that rests in the Lord brings balance even in times of scarcity. He is the source of all provision, the only one who can turn little into abundance and uncertainty into security. Second teaching, be honest in business. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. Proverbs 11:1. Integrity is the foundation of all true prosperity. Gains achieved through dishonesty do not last, for they lack God's blessing. The Lord delights in justice and truth in every transaction. Acting with righteousness shows that divine favor is worth more than any quick profit. A man of integrity may take longer to prosper, but his wealth will be solid and enduring. Honesty builds credibility, and credibility attracts opportunity. God blesses the heart that rejects deceit and remains faithful to the principles of truth. To prosper with justice is to glorify the Creator, showing that money is never more valuable than a clear conscience and fellowship with Him. Third, be generous. There is one who scatters and yet increases more, and there is one who withholds more than is right, but it leads to poverty. Proverbs 11:24. To be generous is to live according to the heart of God, who always gives without measure. Generosity does not impoverish, it multiplies. The generous person understands that everything they have comes from the Lord, and that sharing is an act of faith and gratitude. Those who give joyfully make room for greater blessings to flow into their lives, for God honors the open-hearted. On the other hand, those who hold back out of fear or selfishness close the doors to abundance. The wisdom of Proverbs teaches that giving is a form of sowing, and every seed planted in love bears fruit in due season. When we help others, we do not lose. We invest in the kingdom. Generosity is the channel through which God turns resources into miracles and provision into blessings. Fourth, work with diligence. The soul of the sluggard desireth, and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. Proverbs 13:4. To work with diligence is more than simply completing tasks. It is to act with purpose, dedication, and consistency. The lazy person desires results without effort, but the diligent one understands that every harvest requires sowing. God honors those who work faithfully and wholeheartedly, for labor is an expression of gratitude and worship. Continuous effort shapes character and opens doors that laziness can never reach. To be diligent is to act even when no one is watching, trusting that the Lord rewards work done with integrity. Every act of effort becomes a seed that, in due time, yields abundance. True success is born not from haste, but from perseverance guided by faith and discipline. Fifth, beware of bad company. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Proverbs 13:20. The people we walk with shape who we become. Our companions influence our decisions, values, and even our destiny. Walking with the wise means choosing to learn, grow, and draw closer to God's will. Associating with fools opens the door to downfall and pain. The wisdom of Proverbs warns that wrong relationships can corrupt good character and distance us from divine purposes. Therefore, it is essential to discern who speaks into our lives and with whom we share the journey. God desires that we surround ourselves with people who strengthen our faith, inspire good fruit, and draw us closer to Him. Those who choose wise company walk toward wisdom, peace, and true prosperity. Sixth, plan before you spend. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Proverbs 21:5. Planning before spending is a principle of wisdom that protects against waste and lack. Haste leads to impulsive decisions, but planning brings stability and prosperity. The diligent person analyzes, compares, and waits for the right time. The hasty one follows emotion and reaps regret. Through Proverbs, God teaches that good stewardship is part of being faithful with what He entrusts to us. Every expense should reflect purpose and prudence. Planning reveals both spiritual and financial maturity, showing that we trust God while also doing our part responsibly. When we bring order to our finances and seek the Lord's direction, He blesses our plans and turns effort into abundance, replacing worry with peace. Seventh, save with wisdom. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. Proverbs 21:20. Saving wisely is a principle of prudence that reveals maturity and vision for the future. The wise person knows how to set aside part of what they receive, understanding that every resource is an opportunity for preparation and stability. The foolish, however, spend everything they have, living without planning and reaping scarcity. God teaches us that caring for what we possess is part of the good stewardship He expects from us. Saving is not a lack of faith. It is an expression of responsibility and trust in divine provision. Balanced saving allows us to help in difficult times, invest with purpose, and live in peace. The true treasure lies in managing with gratitude and discernment, knowing that every good seed stored will bloom at the right time under the Lord's blessing. 8th, seek counsel. For by wise counsel you shall wage your war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Proverbs 24:6. Seeking counsel is a sign of humility and wisdom. No one wins great battles alone, and God often uses people around us to guide and protect us from rash decisions. Just as an army needs strategy to win a war, we also need prudent advice to triumph in life. Listening to wise people is not weakness, it is discernment. Those who rely solely on their own opinion risk falling into avoidable mistakes. When we seek guidance from those who fear the Lord, we find steady direction and blessed results. Wisdom grows through listening and fellowship. Those who accept counsel walk in peace, avoid pitfalls, and enjoy the victories that come from God's favor. 9th, avoid unnecessary debt. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Proverbs 22:7. Avoiding unnecessary debt is a demonstration of wisdom and freedom. Debt binds, limits choices, and creates dependence, making the borrower a servant to the lender. God desires that we live in peace, and that includes financial balance. There may be times when borrowing is unavoidable, but the Bible warns us not to make it a habit. The wise live within their means and learn to wait for God's timing rather than seeking dangerous shortcuts. The rush to acquire what we cannot afford is a sign of impulsiveness, not faith. When we manage with prudence and contentment, we experience lasting peace and prosperity. True wealth is living without chains, trusting that God provides every need in His perfect time. 10th, avoid greed. He who hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Proverbs 28:20. This verse reminds us that greed is a dangerous path that leads to ruin. Those who seek quick riches driven by ambition stray from wisdom and God's principles. The uncontrolled desire for money blinds a person's judgment, causes them to ignore values, and act without integrity. The hurry to have more reveals a lack of trust in God's provision and timing. The Lord calls us to work with honesty and patience, knowing that true prosperity is the fruit of faithfulness and character. Wealth gained in haste fades away, but the one earned through effort and integrity endures. God's blessing adds no sorrow. It enriches the soul and brings peace to the heart of those who wait on Him. The teachings of Proverbs about finances show that true prosperity is not measured merely by numbers, but by the wisdom and balance with which we live. Money is a powerful tool, yet it must be guided by truth and faith. When we apply divine principles, work, honesty, generosity, and prudence, we experience a wealth that goes beyond the material and reaches the soul. These lessons remind us that every financial decision is also a spiritual one. Being faithful in little prepares the way for much. Wisdom not only enriches, but also protects the heart from vanity and deceit. May each verse in Proverbs remind you that the Lord desires your prosperity with purpose, not just comfort. May God abundantly bless your financial life, open doors that no one can close, and grant you grace to prosper with balance and faith. May every decision be guided by heavenly wisdom, and may the peace of the Lord be the greatest treasure in your journey. Thank you for staying until the end. May the Lord strengthen you each day, and see you in the next video.